Let's take a look at the distance in midpoint formulas. Our distance formula says, as soon as I get it written, given 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. Now our distance is given by the square root of y2 minus y1 squared plus x2 minus x1 squared. Now it doesn't matter the order of these actually, but we'll go with this formula. Some books will put 2 different versions of this, but memorizing one is good enough, or knowing how to use one. So let's take a look at our first problem. This problem tells us we got 1, 5 and 5, 8. The instructions are to find the distance between them. Well, this is our first point, so I'll label this as x1, y1. This is our second point, so I'll label this as x2, y2. It actually doesn't matter which one you label as your first point, which one's your second point. It gives you the same. Now, usually what people mess up on this is with the signs and plugging things in. So let's go ahead and do our square root. I'll put a beginning parentheses, and then I'll put smaller parentheses where the variables were. In this manner. Okay. Now this was y2, so I'll label down below here, and this is y1, and this is x2, and this is x1. Now if you put this form down each time you do the distance formula, you can't mess up on where to put things, because you can just match things up real easy. And the extra parentheses you see in here will help eliminate sign errors. Well, y2 we said was 8, y1 is 5, x2 we said was 5, and x1 is 1. Okay. Well, 8 minus 5 is 3, so we got 3 squared plus 5 minus 1 is 4, so we got 4 squared. Well, 3 squared is 9 plus 4 squared is 16, which gives us the square root of 25. Now, always you should simplify your square roots. And 25 is 5 times 5. And remember, with square roots, we're looking for pairs of something. Here's a pair of 5s, so a pair of 5 is going to come out in front as a single 5. And that would be our answer. That's the distance between those 2 points. We'll take a look at another example. Here we got -2, -3, and 7, and -5. Now again, I'm going to label my points first. This is my first point, so I'll label this as x1, y1. This is my second point, so I'll label that as x2, y2. And we'll write down our formula, replacing our variables with sets of parentheses. So I got parentheses minus parentheses squared plus, and then parentheses minus parentheses squared. So this was y2, this was y1, this was x2, and this is x1. Really hard when you label everything like you're seeing me do here to mess up on the arrangement or even the signs. Okay, well, y2 we said was -5. Now that I made that claim, I'll probably screw it up. Y1 is -3. X2 is 7. And X1 is -2. Okay. Now here we got a negative negative, so this becomes -5 plus 3 squared plus, and here we got a negative negative, so that becomes 7 plus 2 squared. Remember, two negatives like that become a positive. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2, so we got negative 2 squared. Plus 7 plus 2 is 9, so we got 9 squared. Negative 2 squared is 4, and 9 squared is 81, which gives us a square root of 85. Now the question is whether we can simplify this down further. And I can see it's divisible by 5, but it's probably a little bit too early to see much more than that. If I do my tree to see the factorization, let's see, that goes in there one time, 35, 17? Let's see, 5, 3, yeah. So 5 and 17 are both prime, so this would be our answer. If you need practice plugging those in your calculator to get the decimal, you can do that, but that's kind of a trivial part. Let's take a look at this problem. We got 3 square root of 2, square root of 7, and 5 square root of 2, and 4 square root of 7. Okay, I want to label these. This is my first point, so I'll label this as x1, y1. This is my second point, so I'll label this as x2, y2. And I'll write down my formula. So I got square root, and I'll put parentheses where my variables were. There we go. And let me label everything. This will be y2, this will be y1, this will be x2, and this will be x1. Y2 is 4 square root of 7. Leave myself much room here. Y1 is square root of 7. X2 is 5 square root of 2. And X1 is 3 square root of 2. Well, since these both have the same radical, they both square root of 7, then you can add or subtract the numbers that are out in front of them. Well, we got 4 square root of 7 minus, there's an invisible 1 here, so 4 minus 1 would give us 3 square root of 7 squared. Now over here, these again are both square root of 2, so we can add or subtract the numbers that are out in front. 5 minus 3 is 2, so we're going to have 2 square root of 2 squared. Now, if everything inside of your parentheses is either multiplication or division, you're raising it to a power, you can take everything to that power. So this right here, we got 3 times the square root of 7. We can take the 3 to the second power, and we can take the square root of 7 to the second power. And same thing over here. We'll take the 2 to the second power and the square root of 2 to the second power. They should have called that the distributive property of exponents. Okay, 3 second power and the square root of 7 to the second power. And 2 to the second power and square root of 2 to the second power. Just what I just said. Well, 3 squared is 9 times. Remember, when you index a number in the slot right here matches a power, they're going to cancel each other away. There is no number in the slot here, so it's by default 2. So again, a square root and a second power cancel, so it just gives us 7. Now over here we got 2 squared, which is 4, and same thing here, these are going to cancel, so it gives us 2. Well, 9 times 7 is 63, plus 4 times 2 is 8, which gives us square root of 71. Looks prime. Can't think how that would break down where we could bring anything out. Well, let's talk about the midpoint formula. Midpoint formula. Distance found distance between 2 points. This finds the exact center between 2 points. This says, given 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, then your midpoint is given by this formula. M is equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Basically, you're averaging them. When people work with these problems, typically you don't need to put extra parentheses in. Very rarely do people mess up on signs on these. Let's take a look at an example. We got 2, 7, and we got 4, 3. Okay, so for a midpoint, what we're going to do is we're going to add together x parts and then divide by 2. So we got 2 plus 4, divide by 2, and then I'll add together my y parts. So I got 7 plus 3, divide by 2. Well, 2 plus 4 is 6, so we got 6 divided by 2, 7 plus 3 is 10 divided by 2, which gives us 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So our answer is a 0.35. Let's take a look at another one here. We got 1, 5, and we got 3, 2. And again, midpoint's a lot simpler. I don't need to put any extra parentheses in usually. You just add together your x parts. So I got 1 plus 3 divided by 2. And then add together y parts. So I got 5 plus 2 divided by 2. Well, 1 plus 3 is 4. So we got 4 divided by 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. So we got 7 divided by 2. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then this just remains 7 halves. And that's our answer. And one last one, the midpoint. We got 4 square root of 3, 2 square root of 5, and 8 square root of 3, 3 square root of 5. And want to find midpoint again. Now these, I should mention this, P sub 1, P sub 2 you see here, they just indicate two different points. P1 indicates first point, P2 indicates second point. Okay, same formula. We're going to add together x parts. So we've got 4 square root of 3 plus 8 square root of 3 divided by 2. Add together y parts. So we've got 2 square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 5 divided by 2. Well, these radicals are the same. And remember, when the radicals are the same, you can add or subtract the numbers that are in front of them. So 4 plus 8 is 12, square root of 3 over 2. And over here, 2 plus 3 is 5, square root of 5 over 2. Now here, the 12 and 2, I can simplify that. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So this gives us 6 square root of 3. And over here, I can't simplify anything. So this just remains 5 square root of 5 over 2. And that's our answer. And that's the distance formula and the midpoint formula.